So do you think crypto will take over normal currency like AUD or USD and all of that?
When you ask that question, right, do you mean by volume of use? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. That's so many steps ahead from where we are right now. We have cryptocurrency that is trying to replace currency, let's say, but that would require that cryptocurrency is able to exchange hands quickly. It can go from you to me very quickly, right? And that there is validation of this as being valuable by everybody in the world, right? To that level, it's going to be taking a while. And in terms of volume, could there be as many cryptocurrencies as there are dollars in the world? Probably not. So as of today, the full market cap of cryptocurrency as a whole is $1.88 trillion. Compare that with the full market cap of S&P 500, which is $38.2 trillion. So we still have a lot more to go.
Yeah.
In terms of cryptocurrency. Can it replace everyday transactions? Well, certainly. It has potential to do that, but it's got to wait for the amount of people to jump in. So this is the Bitcoin adoption curve right here. And so we're right here about, where are we here? About about 300, that's about 300 million users that we are on right now. And we have potential to get up to 3.7 billion crypto users. That's 50% of the population right there. I think that question is geared towards answering, do we have any more room for growth in Bitcoin, right? Is it big enough to replace our regular fiat currency transaction? My answer is it definitely has the capacity to. How long will it take? That's anyone else's guess. Because the way we transfer cash from one person to another, we've got real money right here. I can give this money to you, but that's completely untrackable. You know, I could say I gave you $20, but then you can turn around to me and say, look, you never given me $20 and just hide it. There's nothing that exists as a record of that happening. Well, we're filming this interaction right now, so we can probably prove it. But any data that goes on the blockchain is something that will be validated through a ledger. So that's why there is definitely some functions that are in cryptocurrency that would add a bit more intelligence in money transfer. And, you know, if you look at things like XRP, for example, you know, it does interbank transactions at a very, very quick speed, right? And it costs very little to do it, and it has a fantastic utility. What we are waiting for is for then people to then validate these transactions, this currency, is then we are waiting for the regulations to catch up to it. That's anybody's guess. But do we have room for growth for cryptocurrency? My answer is definitely. Big time.
What's a ledger?
A ledger is basically a sheet with information of where the money came from and where the money is going. It's just a proof of what's happened to this cryptocurrency.
So what's a smart contract?
What's a smart contract? Smart contracts then allow some transactions to occur on an automatic basis. So there are some economics behind how cryptocurrency is exchanged and traded and used. So Ethereum, for example, let's say I give you a bit of my Ethereum, then I need to pay what's called a gas fee. It's like a transaction fee. What determines that transaction fee is that if there's high volumes, then it will increase the transaction fee. If there's a lot of congestion in the blockchain, then it will increase the transaction fee. And when I do a transaction, it'll then burn some Ethereum from the total supply of Ethereum as well, to control the supply of Ethereum in the entire market. That determination is done by this code. It's not done by a human being, right? If it was done by a human being and by a centralized body, then that'll be an issue, but it's done by a code, and that code is called the smart contract. Right. So we can then evolve this smart contract into then things like loaning money. So what we have in our traditional system is we have a bank right here. And then I come along and I deposit $20 into the bank, right? And the bank will then give me an interest on that, you know, maybe 1% every year. And then they'll lend it out to you when you want to do a property development. And you have to probably pay 3% on that. And they will then pick up 1% and they'll give me 1%, right? Whereas what if I then could lend you the money and the bank is responsible for then retrieving repayments from you and then being able to then give me the returns on my deposit as well. And that's why they can pay that extra 1%. But what if there was something within this currency itself that had a contract that I could just give this to you, right? And you take it, right? You don't know me, I don't know you, we don't trust each other. But that transaction in itself was governed under this code that says you have to give me 1.5%.
So there's no more middleman.
No more middleman.
The smart contract is the middleman.
Exactly.
But it's not by a person. The smart contract's a code.
Exactly right.
Okay, that makes some more sense.
Exactly right. So when that happens, it's called decentralization.
Yeah.
So there's no centralized body. Let's say you and your brother made a promise to each other, right? And your brother broke it. And he goes, I'm not going to give you the packet of lollies that I promised you, right? you're sad. So next time what you do is when your brother promises you that he'll buy a pack of lollies, you go to your dad. You go, Dad, you watch this, right? Because you don't trust your brother anymore.
Yeah.
So the dad then watched that promise happen. Then the next time your brother breaks a promise, you can go to your dad and be like, hey, Dad, my brother's not giving me this, right? And dad says, give me one candy for facilitating all this. Dad's the centralized body. We get rid of dad and we set up a contract, a code where that transaction of candy can happen just like that automatically. That's a smart contract. Is that all good? Okay, any other questions?
Let's see. I guess the big one everyone's always wondering, what's the next big crypto?
The next big crypto.
Next big coin.
Next big coin at the moment. Okay, cool. There is no such thing as a next big coin because there's so many coins that are coming out, right? So you can spread all your risk and put $1 each in every single one of them, and hopefully one of them will go to the freaking moon and make a lot of money. But my strategy isn't finding the next coin because the chances of that is so low. It's almost just a gamble, right? There is an art and a science to this, and it's not just like, yo, this is what it is. And I don't really like shilling out on something and like telling people, yo, this is what you need to do. I think some NFTs are doing really well out there, but obviously there's a strategy around NFTs as well, that you don't buy something where it's at the peak of its price, but you buy something at the very beginning, which is called the minting. So do look into minting. That's for NFTs. For cryptocurrencies, what I'll do is I'll use the signal from Bitcoin. So if we look at Bitcoin from the 2017 bull run, from there to the very low that it hit back in 2018, right? We're looking at a price reduction from the top to the very low of 81%, which is a pretty steep decline. And then we had a mini bull run in what year was that? That's in 2019 to the end of, to the very beginning, the horror of COVID, and that was a 71% retracement there. We call that a retracement because it retraces backwards. So what we are seeing is that as soon as it hits what's called an all-time high, it likes to retrace all the way down to 81%. When you're investing into cryptocurrency, you only should be worrying about when you buy. Okay, when you buy, because it will go up to a level that was once previously hit. And as you can see, obviously, towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, we have already seen that previous all-time high right there being beaten as we cross over that region right there. So it's important actually when we buy. Now, I wouldn't be investing into Bitcoin anymore because where do we think Bitcoin's going to go? Let's say it went as ambitiously and beautifully as $120,000. That's pretty damn freaking high. But from where we are, that's only 3x. Now, 3x is a pretty modest gain in cryptocurrencies because the amount of money that goes into cryptocurrency investment isn't as big as what you would get in real estate or anything like that. Because the thing with real estate is that it's a lot stable than you would be with crypto because it's a lot more volatile. So what you must do is you actually need to find better entry points. So if history is any indication, we are looking for an 80% retracements. We have seen, 50%, 60% retracements as well. So where is that 80% retracement from where the all-time high was previously? Now, the all-time high could be set anew, right? And then it'll retrace 80%. I'm not saying that it'll retrace 80% from here, which is all the way down to $13,000 Bitcoin, which sounds pretty crazy to most people. And you know what? I'm going to get a lot of hate from people if I do claim that Bitcoin is definitely going to hit $13,000. The retracement may be smaller than that. Okay, it may be smaller than that by 70%, 60%, or what have you. But the previous three lows that we've seen, right, in June, right, that was actually a 55%. Okay. That was a 55% retracement from the all-time high that we had previously. It may be that we don't actually hit that 80% retracement right now, that we may set a new all-time high and then an 80% retracement may happen from there, which will then bring us down to that 25K after that. And at which point is not actually too late to actually go and invest. And when those times occur, you do not invest into Bitcoin, but you invest into good use case altcoins, right? So because if Bitcoin goes up, for example, like 5%, you're also gonna go up by something greater than 5%, right? Because it's a more volatile asset. But there is a huge amount of correlation, which means that when Bitcoin goes up, also gonna go up. When Bitcoin goes down, also gonna go down. Most of them are gonna behave that way. So stick to the good use cases so that these altcoins are going to last. And so what you wanna do is you wanna be looking at these points. Now, how do I know that it's definitely gonna go to the 80%? What if it only goes down to 70% and it goes up? Then do I just miss out on that? Well, you may do that. So what I do is I set some grids between 55% to 80%, right? Or 85% or what have you. At every 5% increments, right? I do what's called dollar cost average, which means at 5% intervals, I buy some, buy some, buy some, buy some, and buy some. So it might not hit every level, but I am going to get deep enough into the actual trenches to be able to make my investment worthwhile. Because This is just math. The retracement from here to here, right? This point here was 81%. But you know what happens when the price goes from here back to that same level? Is that an 80% increase?
No.
No, that's a 500% increase, which is freaking crazy, right? So it's actually highly important where you make the acquisition. So I'm actually more aggressive that I'm doing this. If you want to be more conservative, reduce that region to like 65% to 80%, then you'll be better off. And at these times, buy the really good use case altcoins. That's my suggestion. And I think that is probably one of the soundest strategies that you can have. And what will you do with those? Well, you can look at investing into anything that has a good use case that you identify with, that you feel strongly about, and it would most likely stick around and behave reasonably well around Bitcoin. So if we actually go back to this low that we once had. So at this point in time, that was 20th of July, 2021. And to where we are now, that's 41% increase that we had on Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin. Now, let me ask you a question. Out of the top 100 cryptocurrencies, according to CoinMarketCap, what percentage of these coins do you think did better than 41%?
None. All of them?
100% of them did better than 41%. So is there much point in picking? No, there really isn't. You're going to be pretty well off. I'll give you just one simple example. Cardano. So on Cardano, right? We're looking at, that's July 20th right there, okay, with a dip of Bitcoin. If you invested into Cardano then, from then to today, you'll be sitting at a whopping 91% gain. So don't invest into Bitcoin anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Bitcoin's still going to do its things. You know, the whales are still going to invest into it. Just because I said don't invest into Bitcoin doesn't mean Bitcoins are going to drop like flies. It just means that there's going to be other forces that are bringing up. But for you to have the best chance at creating good amount of wealth, good amount of investments, you're not going to have much luck investing into Bitcoin. Right? And when Bitcoin goes to that $120,000 level, I suspect that Cardano will be much higher than at previous highs, which were at $2 and also near at $3 as well. At which point, I would argue that it really doesn't matter what coins to invest, but more importantly, is when you invest and how long you decide to stay in the market. So let's say you are one of those unlucky bastards, right, who invested at the all-time highs previously in 2017. As you can see, the longer you hold, right, the longer you hold, the likelihood of it beating your previous hold is that it's taken 3.5 years. So anyone who's held cryptocurrency, not cryptocurrency, because some cryptocurrencies disappear, but anyone who's held Bitcoin for longer than 3.5 years have never ever lost money. So if you can buy alts, right, at slightly lower levels than where it is. So in strict logic, right, where we are now, if you're thinking long term, still isn't a bad place to buy if you're going to make money that you're going to be able to hold for as long as you can, and you're not going to worry so much. But the thing with human psychology is that when you see red numbers in your account, you probably want to sell. That's called paper handing. So hodling isn't everything. Hodling is something that's really important, but it's also important to know when you actually make the purchase, right? And at what levels you make the purchase away from the all-time highs. That's the strategy.
Cool.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in today, guys. If you like the video, make sure you go like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Leave any further questions you might have on cryptocurrency trading, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.